So, there's a lot of talk right now about the pressure on England's education system. It really feels like it's being squeezed from all sides. In this explainer, we're going to dig into the latest reports and data to figure out exactly where that strain is coming from.
And really, it all leads to this one huge question, right? Is the whole system about to hit a breaking point? It's something everyone's asking, from parents at the school gates to the folks in government. And honestly, the latest reports, they paint a pretty stark picture. It's like the system is being pulled in a dozen different directions at once.
So, to really get a grip on this, we're going to look at three key areas that just keep popping up again and again. First, there's the whole deal with inspections. Then, the ever-present challenge of funding. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the actual human cost of all this pressure.
All right, let's start with the big one, Ofsted, the school's inspectorate. Now, they brought in a new framework that was supposed to make things better. But what's actually happened, well, it's created a bit of a paradox for school leaders.
See, on one side of the coin, school leaders are saying, yeah, some of these changes are good. Inspections feel a bit more collaborative, a little more consistent. But then you flip that coin over, and the reality is this massive burden of stressful planning that just throws a wrench in the day-to-day running of the school.
And this right here, this is the core of the problem. The Association of School and College Leaders, that's the ASCL, they've pointed out the huge irony. The whole point was to reduce workload, but for senior staff, it's actually done the exact opposite. And we're not just talking about some vague complaint here. This is real. One school leader said the demands were just massive. Get this, it took them nearly 3 hours, just to plan the timetable for the second day of an inspection. I mean, think about all the other things that time and energy could have been spent on.
So, what does this actually feel like for the people going through it? Well, that same ASCL survey found that a whopping 65% of school leaders are worried the new system will be more damaging to their well-being. Only 5%, just 5%, think it's going to be an improvement. That's a pretty powerful statistic.
Okay, moving on from inspections, let's talk about the next big pressure point, money. It's a total maze of budgets and deficits, and there is a seriously huge challenge looming on the horizon.
£6 billion. That's the number that's at the heart of this whole debate. It's the estimated funding gap for special educational needs and disabilities, or SEND, that the government is going to have to find a way to cover starting in 2028.
So, this naturally leads to the £6 billion question, right? If the Department for Education suddenly has to find all this extra cash, where on earth is it supposed to come from?
Well, according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, there are really only 3 ways this can go, and none of them are easy. Option 1, you try to slow down how quickly spending on SEND is growing. Option 2, you just find more money and increase the total education budget. Or option 3, and this is the one that has everyone worried, you take it out of the budget for mainstream schools.
And if they do go with that third option, the impact would be huge and immediate. The Office for Budget Responsibility did the math, and funding this gap from the current budget would mean a 1.7% real terms cut in spending for every single pupil in a mainstream school. That's a cut you'd really feel.
So you've got this pressure from inspections and this huge pressure from budgets. But these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. This has a real, tangible impact on the actual people working in our schools every single day. Let's talk about that human cost.
52. Just think about that number for a second. 52 hours. That is the average number of hours a teacher in England works in a week. That's according to a recent UCL study. I mean, your typical 9-to-5 job is around 40 hours. This is way beyond that.
And you can guess what those kinds of hours lead to, right? It's taking a massive toll. The Teacher Wellbeing Index is reporting that school leaders are dealing with really high levels of burnout, total exhaustion, and just acute stress, all directly linked to their jobs.
And it's not just the pressure from inside the school walls. The pressure from the outside is ramping up too. Just look at this. Recent data shows that allegations from parents against teachers have shot up by 1/3 in a single year. It went from affecting about 9% of teachers to over 12%. That's a big jump.
And we have to remember, this isn't just about the teachers. It's the support staff too. The teaching assistants, the people in the lunchroom, everyone who makes the school run. The survey found that 3 out of every 5 of them have fewer coworkers than they did last year. And over 3/4 of them say there just aren't enough people to properly meet the kids' needs. So what happens? The workload gets even heavier for the people who are left, often for no extra pay.
So, let's pull all these threads together.
You've got this inspection paradox, this crazy money maze, and this very real human cost. It's pretty clear the whole system is being stretched to its absolute limit.
You've got an inspection system that's just piling more and more work onto schools, even if it started with good intentions.
You've got budgets getting tighter and tighter with this massive funding crisis on the horizon that has no easy fix.
And at the center of it all, a workforce that's just completely snowed under with work and facing serious burnout.
So with the pressure cranking up on inspections, on funding, and on the people themselves, the system is stretched thin. And it really just leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. Something's got to give, but what is it going to be?